And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Consumer Quarterback Show. I am your host for the day, Alex Lima. You know me as Alex Lima, BlackBelt_Fitness on Instagram. I'm with BlackBelt Fitness and Martial Arts. I am the owner and head instructor. Been doing this stuff for a long time. Coming up in March, I will be 4 years doing this show, and it's cool to finally jump in the hot seat and see what Brandon does by helping not just the listeners gain knowledge in different markets and make wise business decisions, but also helping our guests that come on boost their celebrity and get more out there and get known. We got an awesome lineup today. We have Tom Rydberg. He's going to be our lending and mortgage expert. This guy always brings good knowledge when he comes onto the show, so wait to hear what he has to say. And then we might have a special surprise later, another guest. I'm going to tease that one a little bit later. But for right now, I'm going to send it over to my man Tom.
What's up, man? Good to see you again.
How's it going, my man? Good to see you as well.
Going really well.
So for those that don't know, haven't had a chance to see you yet on our YouTube channel or on the radio and stuff, please introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about your background and what you do.
All right. So residential lender. I got into the business 24 years ago when my first daughter was born, and my wife was quite shocked at that news. But it's been great. I love my industry. I love what I do. It's super challenging, but you know you're part of making dreams come true every day and giving great advice. And I've always been a numbers person, so I think that's why I'm so passionate about it. We lend pretty much nationwide at this point. If I'm not licensed in a state, one of my colleagues at Draper and Kramer is. And we are based in Florida, in Sarasota, and we work all over the state. And it's been a really good market for us this past couple of years since we opened that office. And, wanting to grow the Tampa market as much as we can as well.
Yeah, but now you're originally from where?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
So you started with the mortgage industry in Chicago and then came here with it, or this was something you did? You decided I'm going to move to Florida, get some tanning done, hit the beaches, and then also be in the lending industry.
A little bit of that. So born and raised in Illinois, and that's where I started my career. And about 7 years ago, I knew that I wanted to diversify my business. My daughters were in high school, looking at colleges, and I knew that I wanted to get someplace warm. I didn't know if it was going to be Florida, Texas, someplace else in the South. So after experimenting in some different markets, I fell in love with the Tampa market and gained some traction because there's so many people from the Midwest that end up on the Gulf side.
Yeah.
And my wife fell in love with the area. My kids love it. So I continue to obviously have a lot of clients and referral partners in the Midwest, and again, all over the country.
Sure.
But over the last year, I mean, it really has been our biggest market, or my biggest market, as an individual loan officer.
Yeah. So now, like you said, you kind of dipped your toe in the water, at no pun intended, like in different places around Florida and stuff like that. But what was the pull towards the Tampa market? Like, because obviously you sat down and this wasn't just like, oh, I like the weather, I like the way this looks. You crunched some numbers and you looked and you saw there's potential here in our Bay Area.
Well, so a lot of things. Making a move, there are so many people around the country I talk to. They know they want to be in Florida. They just don't know where, right? So if you're with the right people, the sun's the same, a lot of the economic benefits are the same.
Sure.
So then what's your decision? If you have family or friends that are already down here, which I didn't, so I could have gone any place. So I don't know. I feel like the Gulf side is more like the Midwest than maybe the East Coast of Florida.
Okay.
I do have some great partners, throughout, whether it's Boca, Miami, Stuart, Florida, oddly enough.
Yeah.
But I kept coming back to the Tampa market. And I think coming from the Chicago suburbs, it has a little bit of that feel. It's a big city, so that was easy for me to relate to.
Yeah.
I don't mind, taking it easy and chilling, but I do get a little antsy.
Sure.
And Tampa has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
Whether it's
you
know,
needed
sports,
a little hustle and bustle too. It can't
Absolutely.
just be all just country living for you.
Correct.
Yeah. Which we have that as well. You can go out to certain outskirts and you can have that.
You can have everything.
It's a diverse market. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the other things I thought was that it does have a lot to offer, and it's fun to explore Florida as well. I've only been here going on my third year.
Yeah.
So I like on the weekends to take some short trips to explore a little bit, and there's a lot more out there.
Yeah, I love that you do that. I think that people that grew up in Florida don't do that enough. They don't realize, I think we have one of our, I forget what station it is that talks about it, but we have the like Florida on a tank full. Like you can literally fill up a tank of gas. Now, a tank of gas is going to cost you a little bit right now, but in the economy. But you fill up a tank of gas and you can go chill and hang out at some interesting places, hit some nice restaurants. Have you taken the family down to like St. Augustine and stuff like that?
We have some friends who ended up moving to St. Augustine.
That's a cool little town.
It's a very cool town.
Yeah.
And I think I know I do this, and most of us, you find a great restaurant, you find a great place to vacation, and you want to keep going there.
Yeah,
you have to force yourself. Yeah. Say, listen, we're not going to go there again until we explore a few other spots.
Yeah.
So we still haven't been to the Keys. I definitely have to get to the Keys.
Oh man, yeah, definitely.
Miami I went to. I realized, okay, that's more suited for my kids.
It's wild, man. I lived in Miami for those. So I grew up. My family's actually. I was the first of my family born in the United States. My family's from Cuba.
Okay.
So I was born in Tampa, but I grew up going back and forth between Tampa and Miami. And then I lived in Miami until I got hired with the fire department in like 2013. Then I came back here in Tampa, Hillsborough County. And so the hustle and bustle, it is if you've never been to Miami, it is a different planet almost. Yeah. And then also, especially like when I was younger, like you said, for your kids, like it's more fun. But I definitely me personally, it's not my scene to like raise my daughter, live there. So for me, it's fun to visit, but to live there, it's not for me.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So we actually went there for a weekend, and we spent Friday and Saturday in Miami, and then it got pretty cloudy that day. So we said, hey, we got to drive back. Let's stop in Naples. You want to talk about going from one extreme of Florida
culture shock.
to the other. I'm like, wow, all within like 12 hours. It was pretty interesting.
Isn't that nuts? It's so crazy.
And I'm not sure if I had to pick one. I mean, I'm not ready for Naples.
Yeah.
There may be a day I'm ready for it, but it ain't today.
Yeah, and again, so we're clear, this is all subjective. You like what you like.
Of course.
If you like that hustle and bustle and that's what you want to get your children acclimated to and you love that scene, that's fine. Yeah. And I'm sure, like, I don't know, maybe even somebody coming from like Vegas or something thinks that Miami is mild. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some people that will consider it mild. It depends on you, your personality, what you like and what you want for your family and your future. Chicago
suburbs were the same way. Some people wanted to be in the city, and some people, you talk to them, and I would tell them, hey, I grew up in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. They couldn't imagine a more boring lifestyle than that. But it worked. That's all I knew.
Sure.
So we would go there for the weekends.
So now, speaking of all that, once we have somebody that has found what they want out of life, where they want to live, the type of home, do we want this country setting, this beach setting, maybe you want multiple homes or rental property, whatever it may be, whatever your real estate needs are, where do you come into play now, like when you start like wheeling and dealing?
Well, so Florida is a unique market because so many people are coming. I mean, I would say 80% of my clients have another residence someplace.
Yeah.
When I talk to them for the first time,
especially in this post-COVID world that we're living in, a lot of people were jumping over because they want to, not jumping over, but coming to Florida because our laws and stuff were more favorable for like business owners and housing and things like that.
For sure,
yeah.
Right, and that's
it's very appealing.
Move, right? So, trying to navigate that for what their situation was, and also fitting into the lending guidelines, and also for that matter, even real estate. So people would say, "Oh, I'm going to get this condo." And, I'm not ready to retire yet, but I'm going to retire in a year or two. And they want to buy that and rent it out until they do retire. Not all condos allow you to rent right away. You know? And it sounds,
I believe it wouldn't, like timing the market, like that's it's kind of like playing gambling. Like we can't just, literally like. Yeah.
I always tell people, even right now when the market has shifted a little bit from maybe where it was 8 months ago, I said, well, I'm not that smart. I've never been able to time any market, whether it's a stock market, the real estate market or anything else. So those are unique situations. I get the logic. Like a lot of people want to, they know they want to be in Florida. and they can work remotely. They have some flexibility. They also know that with good rental management companies and Airbnb and some other outlets, you can rent and make some money and also enjoy that property when it's convenient for you and your family. But there's a lot of navigating that goes into that, and your realtor plays a big role, knowing which condos will allow you to do that. Your lender making sure that, okay, that's your plan. Now, does the underwriter see it the same way? Now, the one I run into a lot is people that they are going to occupy this as their primary residence. It doesn't have to even be a condo. It could be a house. But they are retiring maybe in 6 months. Their job is still in Ohio. So how do they qualify for that mortgage? And they'll say, well, I can, work remotely. I said, okay, well, get us we're going to need a letter from your employer that says you can do that. And that's not always as easy as people expect it to be. So I have a lot of realtors, and I've done this for Brandon and a lot of other companies. When they get an offer and it's with a lender they're not familiar with, they'll ask me to talk to that client just to kind of reassure that their pre-approval is solid and that they ask the right follow-up questions, because so much of our industry is online now or through a mobile app where the consumer will plug in the information, and some of these companies will spit out a pre-approval without any cross-checks, without any follow-up questions.
That's not good. I mean, at the end of the day, we as a consumer, we want the best bang for our buck, but you also have to do a deal that is smart in the long term, in the long run, and that's where it truly comes into play of getting with an expert and making sure that we get with the correct lender, somebody that has your best interest in mind. Because, they want the best bang for their buck. And you want them to have that too, because you don't want to put somebody in a loan that they're miserable with, and then we're going to get those bad reviews and stuff and everything. The life and career ending bad reviews that we get now, the 1-star review. We can't have that.
Or the phone calls too.
The phone call. I don't want to hear this over and over again. Let's make this a win-win situation for everybody, and that's always the way to do business. We're going to take a quick break, man, but when we come back, I want to get with you about like some of the new construction, like misconceptions, some myths and advice that you can maybe give to our listeners.
Sounds good.
All right, my man. So when we come back from the break, more with my man, Tom Rydberg. Check us out, www.consumerqb.com. You can see myself and all the other experts that are here on the channel. We'll see you when we come back from this break. Take care.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host for the day, Alex Lima, with BlackBelt Fitness and Martial Arts, playing backup QB for your consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, they have the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. They always have some wonderful properties up for sale, which is definitely, you want to go through my man Tom that we're talking here to get your lending needs fulfilled. But let's go ahead and highlight some of those properties like we usually do. We have 1991 Orange Court in Dunedin, Florida. This is in beautiful Pinellas County. It's just under 2,900 square feet. It's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath. Gorgeous kitchen with updated features, has solar panels, so it's going to cut those electric bill costs for you. Oversized heated pool, large screen in patio, huge split floor plan. Pinellas County is an awesome place to live. I'm here in Hillsborough County, but I lived in Pinellas as well. Their libraries, their parks, everything, they put a little money into their town. They take pride in their county, so you definitely, if you're looking, Pinellas County is a good place to go and check out. We also want to talk about, we got one on Linda Street here, 6504 South Linda Street in Tampa, Florida. That's in that wonderful Hillsborough County I was just talking about. 1,900 square feet in South Tampa, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, just over a 1/4 acre of land the property is sitting on this home. It's an updated kitchen and bath, motivated seller. They're willing to put $10K towards the closing costs or buy down the rate. You can call 813-917-1894 or check out all the properties from the Platinum MVP team at platinummvpteam.kw.com. Back in studio here with my man Tom Rydberg. Tom, so when someone says that about their home, you got a motivated seller, they're willing to put $10K down or buy down the rate. For our listeners that are just getting into the housing market and looking to buy a home, maybe a first-time home buyer, and they're not familiar with some of these terms, what does something like that mean to if I'm the consumer coming in trying to hey man, this guy said he'll pay $10K towards my home. Is that a good deal?
Well, it means you're going to have a lot of flexibility. So that was one of the biggest challenges for buyers 6 months ago, is that there wasn't a lot of flexibility because there was so much demand, multiple offers. So the fact that they're throwing that out there not only tells you that they're motivated, but also it's going to give you the flexibility of structuring your loan. So for instance, maybe you only had enough money to do 3% down on a conventional loan or 3.5% down on an FHA loan because you had to pay for that plus all your closing costs and your insurance and your prepaid items.
Right.
Where now, if you know you have this flexibility with getting help from the seller, you might be able to put 5% down on a conventional loan, get a better product, or maybe you use that extra money to pay off some credit card debt or something else, and it just puts you in a better position. So I think there's a lot of ways to view it that, whether you buy down the rate or just pay, your customary cost and escrow setup and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But overall, it just means that, this seller, they're willing to wheel and deal with you. They're not going to be so hard-nosed about that offer. It's a nice little enticing invite, like, hey, come check out the property. We'll talk. That price isn't set in stone.
Yeah, and I think people associate negotiating with the price. There's other things you negotiate.
Yeah.
There's closing costs. There's timing. That also says, hey, maybe you're a first-time buyer and your lease isn't up until May. When I see that, I'd say, okay, well, they're pretty flexible. Maybe you don't have to close in 30 days. Maybe you can, close 60, 90 days out. So just keep that in mind too. I get a lot of buyers right now that they're not, they're thinking about the down payment, which is important, and the earnest money.
Sure, of course. They're
But
seeing
all
the
those
money
other
up, the
things,
money up front. They're seeing
all
the
those
money
other
up front.
things matter as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. So let's say it's the end of the year and the deal is kind of on the cusp of like, man, is this going to close before the end of the year? Or should we just push it, go for the into the new year? Because there's a tax break, right? Going if you were to complete this before this purchase, if it's completed before.
So for the buyer, right? So there could be
for the buyer.
advantages for both parties, right? So for the buyer, if you're going to homestead, if it's going to be your primary residence, you want to close before the end of the year. If you're a seller, depending on their financial situation,
The income for the year, yeah.
there could be an advantage to closing at the end of the year or maybe the very beginning of the next year. If they're going to have capital gains, they may want to push that off until the next year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. But back to, so we're before the break, we were talking about new construction, some kind of misnomers and stuff there. So what's some of the misconceptions, the common misconceptions, and then what are some advice we can give to kind of deter that?
So new construction, I haven't seen any recent stats, but I'm sure Florida is in the top 5 markets of the country with new construction.
Oh, no doubt.
And not seeing much of a slowdown because there was such a backlog of demand. So I think
commercial and residential.
Correct. Yeah. I don't deal too much with the residential, but with the commercial side, but if you all these cranes in the air,
they're up for a reason.
They're up for a reason, right? But on the residential side, I think the mistake that consumers can make with new construction is they think they can do it on their own. So the reason realtors play such a vital role in most transactions is you have a listing agent that's representing the seller, you have a buyer's agent that's representing the buyer, and they use their knowledge and integrity to help advise their client and make things go smoothly, right? So with new construction, sometimes people think, okay, I'm just going to work with the builder. I'm going to go talk to the sales rep. And they can be very charming, but make no mistake, they are not looking out for your best interest. They are 100% working for that builder.
For sure.
So, I think a great realtor who knows that market, they're going to know that builder's reputation. They're going to know what recent transactions have taken place, where you might be able to negotiate on upgrades and on timing and picking out a lot. Again, if I'm green to this business, I'm a first-time home buyer and I'm a sales rep, and there's a lot that's just a real stinker. I haven't been able to move that. Yeah. And I see somebody walk through there. I think I can finally get rid of that lot. They may not be looking at their best interest. So it's all those little things that your realtor can make a huge difference.
Yeah. And again, you don't know what you don't know. You're a first-time home buyer. You're like, oh, it sounds good. You're being sold the dream.
Absolutely.
And again, whether it's the realtor or the loan originator, like, you want a win-win situation, because in the end, they don't feel, they're not going to argue too much and say that the negativity is going to go towards the seller. It's like, man, it's that real estate agent, man, it's that loan guy. He's the one, I can't believe I got stuck in this deal. Well, you're an adult and you made the decision, but if you were misdirected and misguided, that's incorrect. That's bad business practice. So that's why you want to get with good loan originators. You want to get with good realtors. So.
Well, and here's the other, I'm pretty comfortable, being direct with people, right? And not everybody's like that. It can be an intimidating process. So you want an advocate, your realtor, on your side that, it doesn't have to be face-to-face with you involved, but can go back to them after you look at a property and say, hey, what can you do for this client? And let them negotiate on your behalf.
Yeah.
So I think that the consumers sometimes think they're going to save money by not having a realtor. You're not paying the realtor.
Yeah.
The builder, the seller is the one that's paying that commission. So the other thing is sometimes people are working with the realtor looking at existing properties. And if you're curious about new construction, that realtor can only help you with the knowledge you share with them. So if you tell them, hey, I'm thinking about, I'm driving down 75, I'm seeing all these new developments, what can you tell me? Let them do some research, and they might be able to direct you and say, well, you know what, there's an agent in my office that just recently closed a transaction here, and this was what was good, this is what was bad. Which builders have reputations for resale value? What upgrades are the right ones to do? Yeah,
you have to do your research. You absolutely have to do your research. The flip side to that, though, with being direct, is not everybody can handle that on the consumer side of things. So what about like if there's I don't want to say hostile, but sometimes personalities clash. Man, we got about 60 seconds. We can touch on that, and then.
You mean as far as with the
direct approach of like, hey, like you said.
Right. Well, yeah, there's a soft way, of throwing
and
it out.
you have to
there
read the client as well of how you're going to approach them and talk to them.
But I think but if I'll make up any career, but if you don't do that on a daily basis for your career, right, that's what realtors do.
Yeah.
I mean, realtors are familiar with that, and they know where there's an opportunity with the builder, what their reputation is. And again, 6 months ago, they weren't going to do anything for you.
Exactly.
But now
you're the
time.
expert. You're the expert. That's why they're coming to you, and it's a disservice if you're not honest and upfront with them. Real quick, Tom, how can people find you?
A couple ways. Cell number, I'm pretty good about answering my phone, nights, weekends, whenever. 630-550-2656. Email closefaster@gmail.com. And online at loansearch123.com.
Nice. Thank you, Tom, for your time. Coming back from the break, we got Mark Olesh. He is the regional director for the South Florida region of Keller Williams. We're going to talk to him, and he's going to break down the real estate side of things. Coming back from this break, don't touch that dial.
Thanks for listening to My Daddy's Show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.